sisters. I would like to welcome you to our program for this evening. This is Dr. Gamble coming to you from Sankofa Healing and Enrichment. I would like to welcome you, brothers and sisters. Let us begin this journey by taking the time to invite the Holy Spirit of God to enter into our midst. Join me as we take a deep breath and release tension, frustration, confusion, and other forms of negation that may be present in our persons at this time. Breathe in for the count of 4 and breathe out. Breathe in for a count and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Last time, breathe in and breathe out. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, tonight we're going to be focusing on our topic, which we have entitled Sickness, Disease, Death, the New Normal. So, remember, as always, we're going to be looking at things from a holistic perspective. We're going to be looking at things from not only the physical, but also the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, because we are divine beings, and in being divine beings, we are not limited to the physical, but actually we are just housed within the physical. But our infinity, our expansion, goes far beyond the physical. And it is only in acknowledging the Spirit and acknowledging our true divinity that we can gain an understanding of the keys to health and prosperity. And so tonight's topic, which is sickness, disease, death, the new normal, we're going to be focusing on women's health tonight. But as we have said on many different occasions, women's health has to be taken within the context of the community, and we as women cannot be healthy without acknowledging our interdependence upon the masculine aspect of reality. When we talk about sickness, disease, death, the new normal, what we're going to explore tonight is the question of quote-unquote hormonal balance. But I want you to understand that hormonal balance is not simply about the physical aspects of hormones within the body, whether it be the estrogen, progesterone, or the cortisol, or, all these other hormones, the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormones, or the growth factor hormones, or we're not just talking about the physical. What we're actually going to be talking about is how that relates to everything else within our being. Because the hormones, or the imbalance in the hormones, are actually a reflection of deeper-seated aspects of imbalance within our persons. My concern as I look at the plight of us as women in today's society is that we have started to accept sickness, disease, and death as our new normal. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start from the beginning, shall we? Let's look at, as we go through growing up as little girls, and we enter that beautiful phase of our lives, which we know as puberty. And I'm laughing to myself, I'm chuckling to myself, because I lived in a house of 5 teenagers. So I want you to imagine all of these hormones bouncing in every which direction. I have 2 boys and 3 girls. But what I want you to think about is, what are we telling our daughters? What is the legacy? What is the paradigm? What is the understanding that we are passing down to our children? We are passing down to our girls. Well, we tell them, well, baby, it's a curse every time you have your cycle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, baby. Every time you have your cycle, you're going to be racked in pain. And you're going to have all these emotional swings, and you're going to want to punch somebody out. And, yeah, it's a horrible time of the month. That is what we pass down to our girls. Even before they get their cycles, we start to brace them for that reality. We start to get them ready for that quote-unquote reality. That is the sickness that we have started to accept as our new normal. Because I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, because we have a lot of dads out there in our audience. And guess what, dads? You got to know this stuff too. And even if you don't have a daughter, you've got to know this stuff too, because you guys are married to us as women. What I want you to understand is, ladies, gentlemen, that's not normal. If you enter into your cycle and you are experiencing that type of symptomology, that is a sickness. There is something wrong within your system if you are experiencing bloating, if you are experiencing tiredness, if you are experiencing cramping, pain, if you are experiencing emotional distress, that's not normal. And I know that you're getting that even from the medical profession. They will say, well, that's normal. And in fact, we've got something for you. I remember when I was growing up, as I think I have told the listening audience before, where I started on my journey in terms of holistic health is, as I was growing up, I experienced horrible menstrual cycles, absolutely horrible, to the point where I would be pounding on the floor in pain. I had to be given prescription strength Motrin, not the ordinary over-the-counter Motrin, prescription strength Motrin. And every month I would have to increase the dose because my body started to become tolerant of whatever the previous dose was. And it got to such a point that my mother would take me to the doctors and say, what can we do for this little girl? And you know what they told her? They said, well, ma'am, the only thing we can do is to suggest that you put her on birth control pills because she needs to have her hormones regulated. And that is what a lot of us as moms face when we go to the doctor, because no mom wants to see her daughter in pain. And so that's what we are presented as the quote-unquote solution, that it's just something that you as females have to go through, and if you don't want to go through that, well, we've got birth control. And that puts us on the next step closer to the next stage, which is disease. but let me not get ahead of myself. So from a very early age, we start to program the minds of our girls to accept this state of sickness as being normal, instead of finding that understanding which says, if this is happening, it's the body's way of saying, stop, look, listen, and change. There's so many things that can be done to alleviate dysmenorrhea or to alleviate menstrual cycles that are imbalanced. But you have to first recognize that it's not normal, that it's a sickness. And that's the problem, that most of us don't recognize that there's something wrong. I remember several years ago, a woman came to me with cancer, and I asked her, well, did you have anything leading up to this? I mean, you know, were there any kind of signs? And she said, oh, no. She said, I've always been very, very healthy, no problems at all. And so I asked her, I said, well, do you remember having, you know, painful periods? And she said, oh, yes, oh, my goodness, they were absolutely horrible. And I said, well, ma'am, that was the beginning of this process that has now led to the manifestation of the end result, which is disease, and could possibly lead to death. So we have to start to recognize that this program that the medical profession has infiltrated into our minds, into our psyche, as their way of keeping us on this disease promotion, disease management track, it is a lie. We do not have to go through our menstrual cycles in pain. We do not have to go through our menstrual cycles being bloated. We do not have to go through our menstrual cycles feeling like we're going to suck it out of our mates. And to compound the issue, you have the religious realm that jump on that and say, oh, yes, it's the curse of womanhood. No, ladies. The curse is that we are accepting sickness as normal. And so that sickness is not only a mental sickness because we're accepting this, but it becomes an emotional sickness because we start to dread our own bodies. We start to dread the cycle, which should really be a celebration of the fact that we are the wombs of creation. We are the birthplace of civilization. And yet we come to dread our cycles, which we should be waving as a flag saying, yes, I am a woman. Yes, I can give life. That is what we need to pass down to our girls, for them to be excited about their cycle, for them to be excited about their womanhood, to be excited about their fertility, not to dread it, not to look at it as a curse. And so that is the first stage of that sickness that we have accepted as normality. How do we circumvent that? How do we avoid even starting this process, in particular for our young girls? For them, it's a lot easier than for us. For us, it has more than likely progressed to this point of almost disease for many of us, whether it be fibroid tumors or horrible menopause, or it has gotten to the point of maybe for some of us even cancers. But for our girls, it's a lot easier. Get our girls active. Get them out there exercising. Our young people should be exercising at least half an hour to an hour each day. Get them moving, and especially during their cycle, when they want to just curl up in the bed, let them go out there and get them moving. Get our girls walking. The power of walking is phenomenal. Stop having them drive just down the block to the corner store. Let them start walking. Walk to school. Walk down the road. Walk to church. Walk to the library. Just walk. Get that activity going. And if you're living in an area that you're not able to walk, like where I live at this point in time, I live on a very busy street where there are no sidewalks, nothing, so I can't go out there and walk. So I drive to a park where I can walk, or I get on my exercise bike. I've bought several fitness DVDs, for my girls, actually for all of my children, for my boys also. But activity is key, because the activity helps you to, number one, control your blood sugar. When blood sugar gets out of balance, and that is due to a lot of other things that we're going to talk about in addition to what we're talking about with exercise. But when your blood sugar is not regulated, is not balanced, when you're experiencing extreme highs in your blood sugar and extreme lows, that creates a system that creates a situation that leads to painful menstruations. Also, the next thing, get our children eating good, healthy fats. Yeah, we've bought into this sickness, where we're paranoid of eating things that have any kind of fat. But the reality is that there's a distinction between healthy, good fats and not healthy fats. But we have thought that we've got to ban all the fats. Everything that is called a fat now we think we shouldn't have. And in reality, our body needs healthy fats. Do you realize, ladies and men, your body needs cholesterol? Cholesterol is the foundational building block for your hormones. If you do not have sufficient cholesterol in your body, you will not have the building blocks to create the hormones that you need to balance your system. Now, this does not mean you go out there and eat all kinds of pig and cow and all that stuff, because the body ordinarily produces its own cholesterol. So you don't have to put in excessive cholesterol, which is laced with all kinds of other hormones and toxins and growth factors and things that are in the dairy and in the cow. Your body will create the cholesterol that it needs. I'm just saying that we have to be aware of this scare that the medical profession has put out there to try and pump up the sales of Lipitor and things of that nature, which makes people scared of quote-unquote cholesterol, when cholesterol is not the bad guy. Okay? So I want you to understand that. But in any case, we were talking about good, healthy fats. Good, healthy fats include things like nuts and seeds. So, your pumpkin seeds, especially for our guys, which also has your zinc. Then you have your sunflower seeds, you have your almonds, you have your walnuts, you have your pecans. Good, healthy, raw nuts, not the ones that are roasted and toasted and flavored and fricasseed and everything like that, otherwise known as killing them and making the natural, healthy fats rancid. You don't want that. You want nice, fresh, healthy, raw nuts and seeds. In addition to that, a phenomenal source of good, healthy fat is coconut oil. And it tastes absolutely fantastic, especially in terms of preparing desserts and smoothies and puddings and things of that nature. Another good and healthy fat is the avocado. In fact, when you look at the avocado, if you cut the avocado open and you look at it, it will simulate what part of the body, ladies? Yes, it looks just like the uterus. And so there we have what we call the law of signatures, where the appearance of different fruits and nuts and vegetables in nature give us an indication of what organ or what organ system it is beneficial for. And so the avocado is very, very good for females in reproductive system, but good for all of us, including our men in general, because it has such wonderful amount of good, healthy fats. Another thing that we need to do with our young ladies and ourselves is promote rest. Yes, ladies, we need to rest. Our girls need to rest at least 8 to 9 hours a night. We in this country are chronically sleep deprived. Now, I can go through all the plethora of horrible things that happen due to sleep deprivation. But today, because I'm focusing on hormones, I'm going to talk specifically about the adrenals. The adrenals are really the backbone of the hormonal system within the body. And the adrenals are affected by stress and fatigue. Because we are under so much stress and because we are so fatigued, we're so sleep deprived, the adrenal gets off balance. And when the adrenal glands get off balance, the rest of the hormonal system gets off balance. So your estrogen, progesterone balance becomes impacted by that. Your thyroid becomes impacted by the imbalance in your adrenal system. So it is very important that we make sure that our young ladies, that we make sure that we as women get rest. So you'll notice that during your cycle, and in many of our traditional cultures from the continent, during a woman's cycle, that is a time when a woman has the right, has the opportunity to withdraw from the normal hubbub of the world and focus on self. Because not only do you need the physical rest, but you also need the emotional, mental, spiritual rest. We need to take time for ourselves. During our cycle, there's a reason why you feel like slowing down. Nature, Mother Nature, wants you to slow down, to take time for yourself, pamper yourself. Don't feel that you've got to be Superwoman and go out there and sling it with the rest of the guys and prove that you are just oh-so whatever. This is a time for the womanhood, to go within the womb, to go within your inner cave where you can recuperate, where you can touch the deep aspects of your spirituality. So you cannot tap into that power that we as women wield. We as women are really the essence of that connection to the spiritual world because we have a predominance of the quote-unquote yin energy. We have a cooler energy. We have a more receptive energy. We have a more inward-flowing energy. And when we capitalize on that, when we recognize that, when we honor that aspect of our femininity, of our womanness, of our womanhood, that is when we obtain true strength and power. So during your cycle, instead of fighting and trying to make yourself rev up to the yang aspect, relish the yin. Relish that period of slowing down, of taking time for self, of going inward, of meditating, because that is part of that cycle. Because during the menstrual cycle, you are cleansing, you are releasing toxins from the body, you're releasing, you're shedding blood so that the body can build and create new blood. See, guys don't do that, but we do. We replenish ourselves, we replenish our womb every cycle, so we don't go stale. So if a child comes into being, a child will come into being in a new womb. And that is one of the purposes of the menstrual cycle, to clear away, to release, so that new things can be born within the womb. And not only the physical child can be born within the womb, but the mental, emotional, spiritual children can be born within the womb. If you capitalize upon this moment of the cycle, you'll notice that it can be some of your most creative times within the month, because you're able to go in and you're able to tap that deep inner spirituality and create and give birth to new ideas, create and give birth to new aspects of yourself. Create and give birth to new realities that you want to have manifest in your life. And so that is what we're talking about in terms of discarding this acceptance of the lie that sickness is normal. Because the danger in that, ladies, is if this is allowed to progress month after month after month and year after year after year, then it reaches the next stage, which is the creation, the manifestation of disease. That comes in many forms. For some of our women, that comes in the form of infertility. For some of our women, it comes in the form of fibroids. For some of our women, it comes in the form of cancer. Because as you continue to have hormonal imbalances within your person, it leads to the manifestation of growths, of tumors, of congestion within the womb, and thus infertility. And more importantly, you start to, again, build this mentality of, well, the normality of disease. And so now we have, again, we've bought into this societal paradigm that says that, well, now, ladies, every month you should start to look for disease in your body. You should start to palpate and push and do all kinds of stuff to see if you've got tumors, because that is what you keep on thinking is going to happen, that you're going to manifest some kind of cancer, that something is going to go wrong. Instead of saying, you know what, I can just relish the beauty of who I am. I can relish the beauty of my breasts. And instead of palpating for disease, to do a nurturing massage, to bring energy into the breast and to clear away negativity and toxicity from the breast. And that comes in so many different forms. Even something as simple as the wearing of the bra. There are so many ladies that even wear the bra to bed. And what I want you to understand, ladies, is that as you wear those bras, and a lot of people are wearing a lot of underwire and very tight-fitting bras, what you're doing is actually cutting into the channels of release that we talk about with regards to the lymphatic system. You have significant lymph nodes right there in the armpits, and those lymph nodes are not able to drain properly if you have yourself constantly strapped up with hard wire. So if you want to wear the bra in the day, fine. Make sure it's not excessively tight-fitting. And please, ladies, release yourselves at night so that that toxicity can release itself from the lymph nodes and out of the body so that those lymph nodes can drain properly. The other danger in that is that you have yourself constantly washing over the estrogen that's building up in the breast. During the cycle, the estrogen builds up in the body. And if it's not able to be released properly, you have that excess estrogen level within the breast tissue. And again, estrogen is a growth-promoting hormone. That's why it's so important in terms of childhood and in terms of childbearing. So we want to think about, number one, our thought processes as it relates to various forms of disease that can manifest, but in reality, we keep on thinking that it's going to happen. So, again, we think about fibroids. Oh, well, that's the new norm. In fact, you know, most of your doctors say, oh, well, it's just a couple fibroids, no problem. And then later on down the line, you end up having to have a hysterectomy. And again, hysterectomies are the second most common operation performed on women in this country. Yes, hysterectomies are the second most common operation performed on women in this country. So that's become our new norm. Cutting out our womb. We don't even look at it as being a big deal anymore. In fact, the doctors say, oh, you don't want any more children? Oh, no problem. It's not going to be any big issue. You don't want the children any old way. So we're cutting out pieces of ourselves. We've even gone to the extreme of cutting off breasts because we're afraid of developing breast cancer. Why? Again, because the disease has become our new norm in terms of our thinking. We're thinking, well, I'm most likely going to get breast cancer, so let me chop off the breast so I won't get the breast cancer. And then ultimately, we get to the last stage, which is death. Again, the new norm. We don't consider it anything major when someone dies of cancer. It's like a weird form of acceptance, and we should be outraged. And outraged because for many of us, that did not have to come into manifestation. If we had stopped this process from the very beginning. But we have to acknowledge this for what it is. It is a lie. Those things are not normal. Sickness, disease, death are not normal. They are reflections of abnormality. They are reflections of imbalances. They are reflections of something that needs to be addressed in order for us to truly manifest the health, the prosperity, the divinity that God wants us to manifest. Even when we look at, again, holistically, incorporating the emotional aspects, we look at women that have problems in their relationships in terms of interacting with men to the point where they say, you know what, Michelle, I don't even feel like having sex anymore. And that's the norm. What do I mean by that? The statistics are showing that lots of women are simply choosing not to have sex. And we think, there's no problem with that. It's just those horny guys anyway. What's in it for me? Well, I'll tell you what's in it for you, ladies. What's in it for you is, number one, connecting with your men. That is very, very important. Number two, it's about, again, tapping into that energy, that raw force, that yang energy, that can move things in your body. A lot of women experience a lot of congestion in the uterus area because ain't nothing happening. There's no blood flow. There's no excitement. There is no spark. There's no fire. And that fire is necessary to keep things moving, to keep the energy flowing. So we have to look at, when we see this happening, we have to look at it and say, wait a minute, that's not normal. It is not normal for me not to have a sex drive. In a recent study, 40% of women had not had sex in over 6 months. 40%. 30% of women have problems achieving an orgasm. It's starting to become a new norm. More and more women accept having a low sex drive. That's not normal, ladies. You deserve to have that power coursing through your veins, to have that energy coursing through your veins, to have that excitement in your life. And if you are not experiencing that, then either something is wrong with your relationship and many times it is. And so you have, again, the new norm, crappy relationships. What? More than 50% of marriages end up in divorce. That's the new norm. That sickness has become the norm. So the major message for us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because you guys have to help us. Just like we've got to help you all, you've got to help us. When I say that our women need to rest, don't overwork your women, especially when they're going through their cycle. Give them that time to take time for themselves. Say, honey, you know what? I've got the kids. Honey, you know what? I'm going to cook dinner. You go put your feet up. When you see your woman is becoming overworked and not getting some sleep, say, honey, you know what? I'm going to wake up and take care of the baby tonight. You get some rest. Or, honey, I'm going to take care of the homework with the kids. You get some rest. You need it. When you see that your woman is not responding to you in the bedroom, instead of saying, man, she's just a start asking questions about what's going on in your relationship. Start asking questions about what's going on with her health. Because if her health is not intact, you can't expect her to be all lovey-dovey and exciting and, doing somersaults and backflips in the bed. It's not going to happen. A healthy woman gives you a healthy sex life. Put a smile on your wife, and you'll get a smile on your face, too. So, gentlemen, I'm going to put it over in your court. Thoughts?
Ooh, thoughts. Well, I thoroughly appreciate the presentation. I somewhere along the way I was reading a few days ago about like you're pointing out is disposing of that misconception about women having a lower sex drive, and some experiments, some studies have showing like, hey, women under more normal circumstances, they have as much, if not more, a sex drive than men. But I had a question related to last week's presentation, if that's not out of order.
Oh no, not at all.
And you were talking about the impact, the hormonal possibilities, impact of consuming cattle and dairy products because of what's being fed to them, and that kind of triggered something to me because some time ago I stopped using soy protein due to something I'd read about how the way soy is processed in the U.S. versus where it's processed in other places in the world that perhaps has a negative, a detrimental, feminization impact on men. So I'm using whey protein, and I know it's a dairy product, and I don't know what's your insights on the pros and cons of that.
Well, interestingly enough, soy is what is called a phytoestrogen, and one of the benefits of soy is that in the body, it goes into the estrogen receptor sites, and it makes sure that the estrogen receptor sites are occupied and therefore cannot be occupied by stronger, more detrimental estrogens that have a tendency of going into the body. Because the reality is that whether you be male or female, you have estrogen in your body. That's just a given. Mm-hmm. It's just about to what degree and how powerful those estrogens are. And so, in fact, one of the therapies or one of the things that is talked about, especially when women have things like breast cancer that are hormonally based, is actually incorporating more soy into their diet so that the phytoestrogen, which is a weaker functioning estrogen, will be able to supplant the stronger estrogens in the body. So it's actually a very interesting dynamic. And the same thing is true with men. For men, the danger is not a matter of eating soy. And when I say soy, what I'm talking about are things like tofu. Unfortunately, what we have a lot of in today's society is vegetable proteins, which have been just concocted in so many different ways that it kind of denaturizes the original proteins and the original composition of the soy that is more naturally done in terms of things like tofu. And so the danger with texturized proteins and things of that nature is the fact that it is further away from the natural state of the soybean. And every time you get, the further away you get from the natural state of a particular food, the more denatured it is, and the more like a toxin it functions in the body, no matter what that food is. So the more processed something is, the more detrimental it is to the body. And so the problem is that most people are consuming a large amount of texturized vegetable proteins or texturized soy products, which are not naturally based. And that's what creates a problem, because anything in excess can be problematic. Drinking water in excess can be problematic. You can die from drinking too much water. And we have so many different industries in the United States that use this quote-unquote texturized protein as a filler because it's cheaper. So a lot of times when you see things that say beef, what you'll see in the small print is texturized vegetable protein, because beef costs a whole lot more money, should I say, than the texturized vegetable protein. Even in terms of what's being fed to the cattle, what's being fed to the chickens, they're not eating grass, what they should be eating. They're eating all of this stuff that is concocted through industry. And so that creates, again, more and more complications and more likelihood for the manifestation of disease because it's further away from the natural state of the original food.
Okay, I thank you for that.
This is Brother Ahmed talking, and definitely want to say I appreciate what I've been hearing. The discussion that you shared and what you've spoken about the new normal, I think is eye opener, mind opener, in a respect that we really have to understand how we are connected to what you say is disease and death, and just accept it on a normal basis. We previously in our broadcast were sharing something I would say quite similar when we were talking about disease and death and how it affects us and disconnects us from ourselves in so many ways. And here you're sharing and speaking or expressing that on the respect of the physical aspect of our livelihoods and who we are and our makeup, but then at the same time our responsibility to our holistic being. And it's a very serious point that I think I really appreciate. It's not really much of a question that I have for you, but I'm just saying that I appreciate what I'm hearing as far as within the presentation, because I think too we're stuck in a normalcy, which is not a normalcy of healthiness or a growth, but it's a normalcy of disease and death. And we really need to open up our understanding to that so that we don't get caught up in the trap or keep making up excuses for those things that's killing us and tearing us apart internally and even collectively. So I do thank you for your presentation.
And, the normalcy that we're talking about is a mathematical, statistical normacy, meaning that it's just because a whole lot of people are ending up in that disease pattern. But that is more a reflection of the unhealthy nature of our society than it is a reflection of what God ordained or programmed our lives and our bodies to function and to do. And so the message that I want to share with our sisters tonight, the message that I want to share with our brothers tonight is That's not the original plan.
That's right.
That is man warping the original design, because the original design is for us to be healthy, alive, enjoying life. The original design is for us to go through our puberty and be exploring the wonderful magnificence of being creators of life. The original design is for us to go through menopause and be celebrating the fact that we are transitioning into another aspect of our life where we are free from things of childbearing and things of that nature. The original design is for us to be healthy and loving our sexual interaction with our partner. In fact, looking forward to it and wanting that interaction with our partner, not running away from him and calling him a dog because he's excited and we're not. The original design is for us to have our breasts and not be chopping them off. The original design is for us to keep our wombs and not be tearing them out. The original design is for us to be fertile and to be able to have children. More and more African American women are becoming infertile. That is not the original design. The original design is for us to be able to heal and to be whole. And that is the message for tonight, ladies. That is the message for tonight, gentlemen. We do not have to accept sickness, disease, and death as being our normal. We can acknowledge sickness for what it is. It's a lie. It is something that needs to be eradicated. It is something that needs to be identified and resolved, brought back into balance. We need to acknowledge that all of these forms of disease are exactly that, dis-ease. They are not the norm. They are not what should happen. We should not be looking for dis-ease and expecting it to manifest. We should be looking for health and expecting there to be health, expecting us to be alive, expecting our sisters, our mothers, our daughters to be alive, to be healthy, to be whole. That should be our expectation, not the reverse. So I want you guys to be excited. I want you guys to be so excited about sharing this news that it's a lie. Everything that they're telling you is a lie. And as you said, if you are willing to let go of the excuses, you can have a different reality. But see, that's the flip side of it. If you accept that that's a lie, you now have to take responsibility for exposing that lie within your life. Exposing your lies, exposing how you have been a co-conspirator in this lie. We have been partners in the manifestation of the sickness. We have been partners in the manifestations of the disease. We have been partners in the manifestation of the death. So now when we expose that lie, we have to be willing to look at ourselves in the mirror and see the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And that is the challenge. Because it's one thing to go out there and say, oh, the man lied to me. That ain't gonna mount up to a hill of beans unless you decide to change things within your life for yourself. If you decide to declare, this is not my normal. This is not my reality. So help me God, I'm going to have something different become my reality. Then it's all on you.
Dr. Gamble. Dr.
Sure.
Gamble, I recognize a measure of passion in your presentations, but tonight, I guess given your history, what we know about your history, the passion is really bubbling tonight. Like, when you get this word out. Women, sisters, it ain't got to be that way. I appreciate that.
Yeah, along that line, just would like to also ask that you kind of let the listening audience know, how to get in touch with you, Sankofa Healing in Richmond, to further communicate not just what you're discussing here, but what you're and how you're reaching out to the community and how you could be of assistance as well.
Okay, well, our website is www.sankofahealing.com, and you can also reach me by phone, which is 850-597-8770. And we do a lot of different things in the community. So even right now, we're doing a program, a summer camp program with girls. And later on next month, we're going to be doing another program in Georgia. So if anybody in the listening audience is in the Georgia area, near Brunswick, in that area, we are going to be having a holistic fitness boot camp for youth at that time. So I encourage you to call me and find out about participating, and it's entirely free. And we also have different online workshops that we do with people, because I have people that work with me throughout the United States. If there's testing that you need to get done, I can send you to one of our network labs and get that testing done to find out what's going on. Because, again, if you have certain imbalances, you need to rectify that now, ladies, before you hit menopause. Because if you hit menopause with that, it's going to be a rough boat ride. So please feel free to call me. Please feel free to visit our website and see more about our programs. We also do retreats. So if you're interested in doing a retreat, please contact me with regard to that, and that's for men and women. And we also have coming up in the future more programs with our couples. So if you're interested in that, let us know. If you are interested in having us come to your location and do a presentation, whether it be a workshop or a series of seminars for a weekend, we can definitely talk about designing something for your specific person or for your specific group.
Well appreciated. Well, there you have it once again, another production from Sankofa Healing. Is disease and death the new normal? I hope not. And after hearing what has been presented tonight, I hope that some of you who are listening in, as well as live and those listening in later on, would really take some action about some of the stuff that's happening in your life and make a change. Stop believing that lie. Stop fulfilling that lie. Stop supporting the lie.
And I hope you can respond not only to the information, but the passion with which it was brought.
That's right.
And be touched by that, so that you go out and share that if you're a woman in particular, internalize it for your life and do what you need to do to change your mindset, your perspectives on what normal ought to be. And yeah, brothers, fathers, lovers, what have you, share the information. Share the information.
Dr. Gamble.
Yes.
Your closing comments.
My closing comments is, ladies, free at last. Free from the lies, free from the deception, free from the disease, sickness, and the death. May you have peace, blessing, and prosperity.
And you likewise.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And what do we look forward to on next week's presentation?
Next week's presentation, we're going to be talking about our children. And since we're not going to be talking too much about hormones, I think you guys have pretty much gotten the picture with regards to hormones. We're going to be talking about immunization, because as we get ready for taking our children back to school, we have more and more lists of immunizations that they want us to zap into our children. So we're going to be talking about immunizations next week with regard to our children and with regard to the elderly.
Okay. Looking forward to that, just to pull down some more lies that's being presented on what you need to do and what you don't need to do. Yes. Well, there you have it, Dr. Michelle Gamble, Sankofa Healing. This has been a presentation, a production of Sankofa Healing, a network partner of the HC Media Network, and we thank each and every one of you for tuning in on tonight's program, and continue to encourage you to follow the presentations being presented here through the HC Media Network as we continue to work for the upliftment of our people. Ashe.
Good night.
Ashe, Uncle Johnson.
Ashe. Good night.
Good night.